Shalom, shalom. Long time no see. Palmetto Paratrooper, good to see you. Hey, I'm going to turn the volume up and down. First, I'm going to go down. Let me know if it's all right. I kind of want it to be able to pick up my voice, but I don't want to pick up background noise, if that makes sense. Thanks for joining again for another Bible reading video. Today, we're going to be starting the book of First Samuel, as you may have gathered from the title of this video. If it's your first time joining or you're watching after the live stream, thanks for being here. We've gone through most of the Bible. We've got, I think, about 6 books left. And where's my phone? I don't know what I did with it. There it is. Lost light. Shalom. Thanks for being here, guys. So we have 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, and then Psalms. And then we will have read through the whole Bible on YouTube here. And a lot of you guys have been following Palmetto. I know you've been here pretty much since day one. Super cool. The idea is to just have this stuff out there, have a little spot where we can grow in fellowship with one another. Mostly I just read and you guys chat, and then we hang out for a little bit at the end. I'm not going to waste much of your guys' time. Uh-oh. Pretty sure I have poison ivy. All right. So check it out. Boom. You guys seeing that? That's the first time I've shared that without struggling to do that. Sharing window. Moose Run, shalom, brother. If you guys don't know about Moose Run coffee, then you're not really drinking good coffee. Sorry to break that to you, but Moose Run coffee is legit the best coffee you can get. I am I'm a little biased because, but I truly believe that, and he's a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start reading. I'm trying to get over to my Bible app now. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1. Working out here? Okay, cool. All right. And there was a certain man, of Ramathaim, Sophim, of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Suph, an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. Interestingly enough, reading through 1 Samuel is where Lucia was inspired to name our son. That's another story for another time, but it is an interesting story. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Now this man went up from his city year by year to worship and to slaughter to Yahuwah of hosts in Shiloh. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of Yahuwah, were there. And when the day came for Elkanah to make a slaughtering, he gave portions to Peninnah his wife, and all her sons and daughters. But although he loved Hannah, he gave only 1 portion to Hannah, because Yahuwah had shut up her womb. Moreover, her rival also provoked her greatly to make her irritable, because Yahuwah had shut up her womb. And so he did year by year. Whenever she went up to the house of Yahuwah, she was provoked, so that she wept and did not eat. And her husband Elkanah said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? And Hannah rose up after eating and drinking in Shiloh, while Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the Hekal of Yahuwah, the temple. Verse 10. And she was bitter in life and prayed to Yahuwah and wept greatly. And she made a vow and said, O Yahweh of hosts, if you would indeed look on the affliction of your female servant and remember me, and not forget your female servant, but shall give your female servant a male child, then I shall give him to Yahweh all the days of his life, and let no razor come upon his head. And it came to be, as she kept on praying before Yahweh, that Eli was watching her mouth. And Hannah spoke in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. Then Eli said to her, How long are you going to be drunk? Put your wine away from you. And Hannah answered and said, No, my master. I am a woman pained in spirit, and I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my being before Yahuwah. Do not take your female servant for a daughter of Belial, for it is out of my great concern and provocation that I have spoken until now. And Eli answered and said, Go in peace. The Elohim of Israel give you your petition which you have asked of him. And she said, Let your female servant find favor in your eyes. And the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no more sad. And they rose up early in the morning and worshipped before Yahuwah, and returned and came to their house in Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and Yahuwah remembered her. And it came to be at the turn of days that Hannah conceived and bore a son, and called his name Shemuel, because I have asked Yahuwah for him. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to slaughter to Yahuwah the yearly slaughtering and his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, when the child is weaned, then I shall take him, and he shall appear before Yahuwah and remain forever there. Sorry, this gum is not working out for me. And her husband Elkanah said to her, Do what is good in your eyes. Remain until you have weaned him. Only let Yahuwah establish his word. And the woman remained and nursed her son until she had weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bowls and 1 ephah of flour and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of Yahuwah in Shiloh. And the child was young. And they slew a bull and brought the child to Eli. And she said, O my master, as your being lives, my master, I am the woman who stood by you here praying to Yahuwah. I prayed for this youth, and Yahuwah has granted me what I asked of him. So I have also loaned him to Yahuwah. All the days that he lives, he shall be loaned to Yahuwah. And he worshipped there before Yahuwah. And Hannah prayed and said, My heart rejoices in Yahuwah. My horn has been high in Yahuwah. My mouth is opened wide over my enemies, for I have rejoiced in your deliverance. There is no one set apart like Yahuwah, for there is no one beside you, and there is no rock like our Elohim. I'm going to pause real quick and go back over here and make sure. I didn't get to check the audio. Anybody just give me a thumbs up in the chat if everything sounds good. Hey, Jerry Patterson, shalom, Bethany. Hi, guys. Good to see you here. Rescued, shalom, brother or sister. I'm sorry, I think your brother. Rescued. Just give me some feedback. Somebody let me know if the volume's okay. I would hate to keep on reading for an hour and it not be good. Sounds good. Okay. We'll go ahead and just keep on going. Thank you guys. All right. So moving back over here to my app so I can see the word myself. All right. Okay, we'll read verse 2 again. There is no one set apart like Yahuwah, for there is no one beside you, and there is no rock like our Elohim. Do not multiply words so proudly. Proudly let no arrogance come from your mouth, for Yahuwah is an El of knowledge, and by him deeds are weighed. Bows of the mighty are bows of the mighty are broken, and those who stumble shall be girded with strength. The satisfied have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have ceased. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has many children pines away. Yahuwah puts to death and makes alive. He brings down to Sheol and raises up. Yahuwah makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust. He lifts the needy from the dunghill to sit with princes and make them inherit a throne of esteem. For this, for the supports of the earth belong to Yahuwah, and he has set the world upon them. That sounds like biblical cosmology, folks. Verse 9, he guards the feet of his lovingly committed ones, but the wrong are silent in darkness. For man does not become mighty by power. Those who oppose Yahuwah are shattered. From the heavens he thunders against them. Yahuwah judges the ends of the earth and gives strength to his sovereign, to his king. This and exalts the horn of his anointed. And Elkanah went to his house at Ramah, but the youth served Yahuwah before Eli the priest, and the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They did not know Yahuwah. And the ruling of the priests with the people was that when any man slaughtered a slaughtering, the priest's servant shall come with a 3-pronged flesh hook in his hand while the meat was cooking, and shall strike it into the basin, or kettle, or cauldron, or pot. And the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. Thus they did in Shiloh to all Israel who came there. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest's servant would come and say to the man who slaughtered, give meat for roasting to the priest, for he does not accept cooked meat from you, but raw. And if the man said to him, let the fat be burned up first, then take as much as your being desires, he would then answer him, no, but give it to me now, and if not, I shall take it by strength. And the sin of the young men was very great before Yahuwah, for the men despised the offering of Yahuwah. But Samuel was attending before Yahuwah, a youth wearing a linen shoulder garment, and his mother would make him a little robe and bring it to him year by year when she came up with her husband to slaughter the yearly slaughtering. And Eli blessed Elkanah and his wife and said, Yahuwah give you offspring from this woman, for the one she prayed for and gave to Yahuwah. Then they would go to their own home. Okay, so we got Elkanah and Hannah, the father and mother of Samuel. And Yahuwah visited Hannah so that she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters, while the young Samuel grew before Yahuwah. And Eli was very old and had heard all that his sons were doing to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who were assembling at the door of the tent of appointment. And he said to them, why do you do deeds like these? For I hear your evil deeds from all the people. No, my sons, for it is not a good report that I hear, making the people of Yahuwah to transgress. If one man sins against another, Elohim shall judge him. If a man sins against Yahuwah, who shall pray for him? But they did not listen to the voice of their father, though Yahuwah was pleased to put them to death. And the young Samuel was growing in stature and was in favor with Yahuwah and also with men. And a man of Elohim came to Eli and said to him, thus said Yahuwah, did I not clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Mitzrayim, in Pharaoh's house, even to choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest? to offer upon my slaughter place, to burn incense, to wear a shoulder garment before me. And did I not give to the house of your father all the offering of the children of Israel made by fire? Why do you kick at my slaughterings and my slaughtering and my offering, which I have commanded in my dwelling place, and esteem your sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the best of all the offerings of Israel, my people? Therefore, Yahuwah Elohim of Israel declares, I said indeed that your house and the house of your father would walk before me forever. But now Yahuwah declares, far be it from me, for those who highly esteem me, I highly esteem, and those who despise me are lightly esteemed. See, the days are coming that I shall cut off your arm and the arm of your father's house, so that an old man shall not be found in your house. And you shall see an enemy in my dwelling place, despite all the good which Elohim does for Israel. And there shall not be an old man in your house forever. But any of your men whom I do not cut off from my slaughter place is to consume your eyes and grieve your life, and all the increase of your house die as men. And this is the sign to you that comes upon you, your two sons, upon Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they are going to die, both of them. And I shall raise up for myself a trustworthy priest who does according to what is in my heart and in my being. And I shall build him a steadfast house, and he shall walk before my anointed forever. And it shall be that anyone who is left in your house shall come and bow down to him for a piece of silver and a cake of bread, and say, please put me in one of the priestly positions to eat a piece of bread. And the young Samuel was serving Yahuwah before Eli, and the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days, no vision breaking forth. And it came to be in that day that Eli was lying down in his place, and his eyes had begun to grow so dim that he was unable to see. And the lamp of Elohim had not gone out in the temple of Yahuwah, where the ark of Elohim was. And Samuel was lying down to sleep. And Yahuwah called Samuel, and he answered, Here I am. He then ran to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. But he said, I did not call. Lie down again. So he went and lied down. And Yahuwah called again, Samuel. And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. But he answered, My son, I did not call. Lie down again. Now Samuel did not yet know Yahuwah. And the word of Yahuwah was not yet revealed to him. Interesting. Verse 8. And Yahuwah called Samuel again the third time, and he arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you did call me. Then Eli understood that Yahuwah had called the youth. And Eli said, see, now they gave a little context why Eli wouldn't have known, because there wasn't many visions in that day. It says it was rare in those days, no vision breaking forth. So Eli was like, what's going on? So he finally figured it out after the third time, which is also very significant. Feed my sheep, feed my sheep, feed my sheep. Then Eli understood that Yahuwah had called the youth. Verse 9. So Eli said to Samuel, Go, lie down. And it shall be, if he calls you, say, Speak, Yahuwah, for your servant hears. And Samuel went and lay down in his place. And Yahuwah came and stood and called as at... Interesting. And Yahuwah came and stood and called as at other times, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel answered, Speak, for your servant hears. And Yahuwah said to Samuel, See, I am doing a matter in Israel, at which both ears of everyone who hears it shall tingle. And that day shall confirm against Eli. And in that day I shall confirm against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house, from beginning to end. For I have declared to him that I am judging his house forever for the crookednesses which he knows, because his sons cursed Elohim, and he did not rebuke them. And therefore I have sworn to the house of Eli that the crookedness of the house of Eli shall never be atoned for by slaughtering or grain offering. And Samuel lay down until morning and opened the doors of the house of Yahuwah. And Samuel was afraid to report the vision to Eli. Yeah, that wasn't very good news. Verse 16, then Eli called Samuel and said, Samuel, my son. And he answered, here I am. And he said, what is the word that he spoke to you? Please do not hide it from me. Elohim do so to you and more also if you hide a word from me of all the words that he spoke to you. So Eli kind of has a feeling it's not a good word. He's like, let Elohim do to you also and more if you hide the word from me. Verse 18, and Samuel reported to him all the words and hid none from him. And he said, it is Yahuwah. Let him do what is good in his eyes. And Samuel grew up, and Yahuwah was with him, and he did not let any of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, knew that Samuel had been established as a prophet of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah continued to appear in Shiloh because Yahuwah revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of Yahuwah. That's interesting, the way that's phrased. And Yahuwah continued to appear in Shiloh because Yahuwah revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of Yahuwah. That part right there is interesting, right? All right. Chapter 4, verse 1. Thus the word of Samuel was to all Israel, and Israel went out to battle against the Philistines and encamped beside Eben Haezer, while the Philistines encamped in Aphek. And the Philistines put themselves in battle array against Yahuwah. And when the battle spread, Israel was stricken by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men of the army in the field. And when the people came into the camp, the elders of Israel said, why has Yahuwah smitten us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah from Shiloh to us, so that he comes into our midst and saves us from the hand of our enemies. And the people sent to Shiloh, and they brought from there the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah of hosts. Dwelling between the cherubim, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of Elohim. Now, these are the two kids that are like not on the good boy list right now, right? These are the sons of Eli that Yahuwah was displeased with just in that last chapter. So they were there with the ark of the covenant of Elohim. And when the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah came into the camp, all Israel shouted so loudly that the earth shook. Now we see some this type of stories reported in the book of Jasher, don't we? All Israel shouted so loudly that the earth shook. Verse 6. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, what is the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? And when they knew that the ark of Yahuwah had come into the camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, Elohim has come into the camp. And they said, woe to us, for it has never been like this before. Woe to us! Who shall deliver us from the hand of these mighty Elohim? These are the Elohim who struck the Mitzrites with all the plagues in the wilderness. See, they're well aware of what went down in Egypt. Verse 9, be strong and be men, you Philistines, that you do not become servants of the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Be men and fight. And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten. And and every man fled to his tent. And the slaughter was very great, and there fell of Israel 30,000 foot soldiers. That's a huge loss. Verse 11, and the ark of Elohim was captured, and the two sons of Eli died, Hophni and Phinehas. And a man of Benjamin, ran from the battle line the same day and came to Shiloh with his garments torn and dirt on his head. And he came in and saw Eli sitting on a seat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of Elohim. And the man came into the city and reported it, and all the city cried out. And Eli heard the noise of the outcry and said, what is the noise of this uproar? And the man came hastily and informed Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were so dim that he was unable to see. And the man said to Eli, I am he who came from the battle, and I fled today from the battle line. And he said, what was the matter, my son? And the messenger answered and said, Israel has fled before the Philistines, and there has been a great slaughter among the people, and your two sons have died, Hophni and Phinehas, and the ark of Elohim has been captured. And it came to be when he made mention of the ark of Elohim that Eli fell off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died. For the man was old and heavy, and he ruled Israel 40 years. Interesting. It points out that when he made mention of the ark of Elohim, Eli fell off his seat backward by the side of the gate. Not when he mentioned that his sons had died, but when he made mention of the ark of Elohim. That was devastating news. Verse 19, and he and his daughter-in-law, Phinehas, his wife, was pregnant, about to bear. And when she heard the news of that the ark of Elohim was captured, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and gave birth, because her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the woman stood by her, said to her, interesting. That didn't register to me, that she bowed herself and gave birth because her pains came upon her. Verse 20, and about the time of her death, the woman who stood by her said to her, do not fear, for you have borne a son. But she did not answer, nor did she set her heart to it. And she called the child, what in the world? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm confused. And about the time of her death. Anyways, I'm going to keep reading because I'm lost on what just happened there. I thought she died, and now she's not dead. So, verse 21, and she called the child Ichabod, saying, the esteem has departed from Israel, because the ark of Elohim was taken, and because her father-in-law and her husband. And she said, the esteem has departed from Israel, for the ark of Elohim was taken. I'm going to come over to the chat, see if anybody has any insight on what we just read. She's obviously alive. She had a son. She named him Ichabod, the woman. Yeah, I know, but she's alive. It says she died. It didn't say she. Anyways. Sorry. We'll keep reading. This is why I need you guys to come hang out in person so that we can like midrash a little bit while we read. Anyways, chapter 5. Oh yeah, sorry. Eternal Light. I'm going to read his comment. It says, to the ark being taken instead of winning the battle with Yah's help probably seemed like Samson's strength disappearing, and they felt, oh, I bet. Yeah, it's yep, there was really something to the ark, and yeah. All right. Chapter 5, verse 1, and the Philistines took. Hey, if you guys want to share this stream with somebody so more people can join us, that would be cool. If not, that's fine. We'll keep reading. Chapter 5, verse 1, and the Philistines took the ark of Elohim and brought it from Eben Hazer to Ashdod, and the Philistines took the ark of Elohim and brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. And the Ashdodites rose early in the morning and saw Dagon fallen on his face to the ground before the ark of Yahuwah. So they took Dagon and put it in its place again. And they arose early the next morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of Yahuwah, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands cut off on the threshold. Only Dagon itself was left on it. That is why to this day the priests of Dagon and all who come into Dagon's house do not tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod. But the hand of Yahuwah was heavy on the Ashdodites, and he wasted them and struck them with tumors, Ashdod and its borders. And when the men of Ashdod saw this, they said, "Let not the ark of Elohim of Israel remain with us, for his hand has been hard on us and on Dagon our mighty one." And they sent and gathered to them all the princes of the Philistines and said, "What do we do with the ark of the Elohim of Israel?" And they answered, "Let the ark of Elohim of Israel be removed to Gath." And they removed the ark of the Elohim of Israel. Gath, I believe, is where Goliath is from. Verse 9, and it came to be, after they removed it, that the hand of Yahuwah was against the city with a very great destruction. And he struck the men of the city from the least to the greatest, and tumors broke out on them. They then sent the ark of Elohim to Ekron, and it came to be, as the ark of Elohim came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, They have removed the ark of the Elohim of Israel to us, to kill us and our people. And now it's like hot potato. They're all trying to get rid of it. Verse 11, and they sent and gathered together all the princes of the Philistines and said, "Send away the ark of the Elohim of Israel and let it return to its own place, so that it does not kill us and our people." For there had come a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of Elohim was very heavy there. And the men who did not die were stricken with tumors, and the cry of the city went up to the heavens. And the ark of Yahuwah was in the field of the Philistines for 7 new moons. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, What do we do with the ark of Yahuwah? Let us know with what we should send to its place. And they said, If you send away the ark of the Elohim of Israel, do not send it empty, but you shall certainly return it to him with a guilt offering. Then you are going to be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand does not turn aside from you. Look, they're making an offering to Yahuwah right now. They're trying to make peace. Verse 4, and they said, What is the guilt offering which we return to him? And they answered, The number of the princes of the Philistines, 5 golden are you serious? 5 golden tumors and 5 golden rats. For the same plague was on all of you and on your princes. Wow, what an idol to make, a golden tumor. Verse 5, and you shall make images of your tumors and images of your rats that ruin the land, and you shall give esteem to the Elohim of Israel. It could be that he does lift his hand from you, from your mighty ones, and from your land. I'm sorry, I don't know why that's funny to me. Verse 6, and why do you harden your hearts as the Mitzrites and Pharaoh hardened their hearts when he had severely dealt with them? Did they not send them away, and they went? And now take and make a new wagon, and 2 milk cows which have never been yoked, and hitch the cows to the wagon, and take their calves home away from them. And take the ark of Yahuwah, and put it on the wagon, and put the objects of gold which you are returning to him as a guilt offering in a chest by its side, and send it away, and it shall go. And you shall see, if it goes up the way to its own border, to Beth Shemesh, then he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we shall know that his hand has not come against us. An accident it was to us. And the men did so, and took 2 milk cows, and hitched them to the wagon, and shut up their calves at home. And they put the ark of Yahuwah on the wagon, and the chest with the gold rats and the images of their tumors. And the cows went straight for the way to Beth Shemesh, and went along the highway, bellowing as they went, and did not turn aside right or left. And the princes of the Philistines went after them to the border of Beth Shemesh. And they of Beth Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. And they lifted their eyes and saw the ark, and rejoiced to see it. Interesting. It's giving us the time for a reason. And they of Beth Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. Verse 14. And the wagon came into the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh, and stood there, and there was a great stone. So they split the wood of the wagon, and offered the cows as an ascending offering to Yahuwah. And the Levites took down the ark of Yahuwah, and the chest that was in it, in which there were objects of gold, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered ascending offerings, and slaughtered slaughterings the same day to Yahuwah. And when the 5 princes of the Philistines saw it, they returned to Ekron the same day. And these are the gold tumors which the Philistines returned as a guilt offering to Yahuwah: one for Ashdod, one for Azah, one for Eshkelon, one for Gath, one for Ekron. And the gold rats by the number of all the cities of the Philistines belonging to the 5 princes, both walled cities and country villages, even as far as the great meadow on which they placed the ark of Yahuwah, remain to this day in the field of Yehoshua of Beth Shemesh. And they struck among the men of Beth Shemesh, and he struck among the men of Beth Shemesh, for they had looked into the ark of Yahuwah. He struck among the people 70 men, and the people mourned because Yahuwah struck among the people a great smiting. And the men of Beth Shemesh said, who is able to stand before this set apart Yahuwah Elohim? And to whom shall he go from us? And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath Jearim, or Yarim, saying, the Philistines have brought back the ark of Yahuwah. Come down, take it up to you. And the men of Kiriath Yarim came and took the ark of Yahuwah, and brought it into the house of Abinadab on the hill, and set apart Eleazar his son to guard the ark of Yahuwah. And it came to be, from the day that the ark remained in Kiriath Yarim, that the time increased, it came to be 20 years. And all the house of Israel lamented after Yahuwah. And Shemuel spoke to all the house of Israel, saying, if you return to Yahuwah with all your hearts, then put away your foreign mighty ones, and Ashtaroth from among you. That's a familiar word, right? From among you, put them away, and prepare your hearts for Yahuwah, and serve him only, so that he delivers you from the hand of the Philistines. And the children of Yahuwah put away the Baals and Ashtaroth, and served Yahuwah only. And Samuel said, gather all Israel to Mitzpah, and let me pray to Yahuwah for you. And they gathered to Mitzpah, and drew water, and poured it out before Yahuwah. And they fasted that day, and said there, we have sinned against Yahuwah. And Samuel rightly ruled the children of Israel at Mitzpah. And when the Philistines heard that the children of Israel had gathered together at Mizpah, the princes of the Philistines went up against Israel, and the children of Israel heard of it and were afraid of the Philistines. And the children of Israel said to Samuel, "Do not cease to cry out to Yahuwah, our Elohim, for us, that he would save us from the hand of the Philistines." And Samuel took a suckling lamb and offered it as an ascending offering, completely as an ascending offering completely to Yahuwah. And Samuel cried out to Yahuwah for Israel, and Yahuwah answered him. Somebody's here. And it came to be, as Samuel offered up the ascending offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Yahuwah. But Yahuwah thundered with a great noise on that day on the Philistines, and troubled them, and they were smitten before Israel. And the men of Israel went out from Mizpah and pursued the Philistines, and struck them as far as below Beth-kar. And Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen, and called its name Eben Haezer, saying, "Thus far Yahuwah has helped us." Thus the Philistines were humbled, and no longer came into the border of Israel, and the hand of Yahuwah was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. And the cities which the Philistines had taken from Israel were returned to Israel, from Ekron to Gath, and Israel recovered its borders from the hands of the Philistines. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. And Samuel rightly ruled Israel all the days of his life. And each year he made the rounds of Bethel and Gilgal and Mizpah, and rightly ruled Israel in all those places. Then he returned to Ramah, for his home was there, and there he rightly ruled Israel, and there he built a slaughter place to Yahuwah. And it came to be, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons rulers over Israel. And the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second, Abiah, rulers in Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways, and turned aside after own gain, and took bribes, and twisted right ruling. And all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah, and said to him, "Look, you're old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint for us a king to rule us like all the nations." But the word was evil in the eyes of Samuel, and they said, "Give us a king to rule us." So Samuel prayed to Yahuwah. Remember, this is before David. And Yahuwah said to Samuel, "Listen to the voice of the people and all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from reigning over them, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, even to this day, forsaking me and serving other mighty ones. So they are doing to you too. And now listen to their voice, but you shall certainly warn them, and shall make known to them the ruling of the king who does reign over them." And Samuel spoke all the words of Yahuwah to the people who asked him for a king. And he said, "This is the ruling of the king who does reign over you. He shall take your sons and appoint them for his own chariots to be his horsemen, and they shall run before his chariots." Sorry, I'm hearing children outside. Verse 12, and they shall run before his chariots, and appoint commanders over his thousands and commanders over his fifties, or to plow his ground and reap his harvest, and to make his weapons and equipment for his chariots. And your daughters he is going to take to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. And the best of your fields and your vineyards and your olive trees he is going to take and give them to his servants. and a tenth of your grain and your vintage he is going to take and give to his officers and servants. And your female servant and your female and your female servants and your female servants, sorry, goodness, and your male servants and your female servants and your best young men and your donkeys is going to take and use for his own work. A tenth of your sheep he is going to take, and you are to be his servants. And you shall cry out in that day because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourselves. But Yahuwah is not going to answer you in that day. So he's warning him, they're going to take the best of everything that you have, all the best of your female and male servants and your daughters, donkeys, your crops, and it's not going to be good when you cry out, I'm not going to hear you. Verse 19. However, the people refused to listen to the voice of Samuel and said, no, but let a king be over us. They chose to be servants to a king instead of Yahuwah. Verse 20. Then we shall be, we also like the nations, and our king shall rule us and go out before us and fight our battles. And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he repeated them in the hearing of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to Samuel, listen to their voice and make them a king. And Samuel said to the men of Israel, each of you go to his city. And there was a man of Benjamin whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, son of Seror, son of Bechorath, son of Aphiah, son of a Benjamite, a mighty man of power. And he had a son whose name was Shaul, young and handsome, and there was not a more handsome man than he among the children of Israel, taller than any of the people by a shoulder and upward. And the donkeys of Kish, father of Saul, were lost. And Kish said to his son Saul, please take one of the servants with you, and arise, go seek the donkeys. And he passed through the mountains of Ephraim and through the land of Shalisha, and they did not find them. Then they passed through the land of Sha'alim, and they were not. Then he passed through the land of the Benjamites, but they did not find them. Verse 5. They came to the land of Suf, and Saul said to his servant who was with him, come, let us turn back, lest my father stops thinking about the donkeys and become worried about us. And he said to him, see, there is in the city a man of Elohim, and the man is esteemed. All that he says comes true, without fail. Now, let us go there. It could be that he shows us the way to go. And Saul said to his servant, but look, if we go, what do we bring the man? For the bread in our bags is all gone, and there is no present to bring to the man of Elohim. What do we have? And the servant answered Saul again and said, look, I have here at hand 1/4 of a shekel of silver, and I shall give that to the man of Elohim, and he shall make known to us our way. Formerly in Israel, when a man went to inquire of Elohim, he spoke thus, come, let us go to the seer, for the prophet of today was formerly called a seer. Verse 10. And Saul said to his servant, your word is good. Come, let us go. And they went to the city where the man of Elohim was. As they went up the hill to the city, they met some young women going out to draw water, and said to them, is the seer here? And they answered them and said, he is. Look ahead of you. Hurry now, for he came to this city today, for the people have a slaughtering on the high place today. As you come into the city, you are going to find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people do not eat until he comes, for he blesses the slaughtering. Afterward, they who are invited eat. And now go up, for you should find him about this time. Okay, so there's been a little back and forth um, within brothers and sisters saying, do you pray before you eat or after you eat? And sure, just do both, but you can actually find both in scripture as well. In Deuteronomy, it does talk about after they were full, they blessed Yahuwah. But this says, as you come into the city, you're going to find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people do not eat until he comes, for he blesses the slaughtering. Afterward, they who are invited eat. Interesting. I don't know why it's just a side note. I'm interested in Bible trivia stuff. So, verse 14, and they went up to the city. They were coming into the midst of the city and saw Samuel coming out toward them to go up to the high place. Verse 15, and Yahuwah had revealed to Samuel in his ear the day before Saul came, saying, at this time tomorrow I shall send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him leader over my people Israel, and he shall save my people from the hand of the Philistines. For I have seen my people, because their cry has come to me. And when Samuel saw Saul, Yahuwah told Saul, see the man of whom I spoke to you. Let this one govern my people. And Saul drew near to Samuel in the gate and said, please inform me, where is the house of the seer? And Samuel answered Saul and said, I am the seer. Go up before me to the high place, for you shall eat with me today, and tomorrow I shall let you go and make known to you all that is in your heart. As for your donkeys that were lost 3 days ago, do not set your heart on them, for they have been found, and on whom is all the desire of Israel? Is it not on you and on all your father's house? And Saul answered and said, Am I not a Benjamite of the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my clan the least of the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why then do you speak like this to me? And Samuel took Saul and his servant and brought them into the hall and gave them a place at the head of those who were invited. And there were about 30 men. And Samuel said to the cook, bring the portion which I gave you, of which I told you to set it aside. And the cook brought it out, the thigh with its upper part, and set it before Saul. And Samuel said, see what was kept back. It was set aside for you. Eat, for it has been kept for you for this appointed time, saying, I have invited the people. And Saul ate with Samuel on that day. And they came down from the high place into the city, and Samuel spoke with Saul on the roof. How tripped out must have Saul been. He's like, I just got to go find this donkey. I need to find the seer. He's going to help me find my donkeys. And he goes and meets Samuel, and Samuel's like, check it out. We're going to have a feast. This is for you. Like, he was expecting him. He's already got a meal set aside for him. I bet he was just like mind blown. Verse 26, and they rose early, and it came to be about the dawning of the day that Samuel called to Saul on the roof, saying, rise, so that I send you on your way. And Saul rose, and both of them went outside, he and Samuel. As they were walking toward the edge of the city, Samuel said to Saul, say to the servant to go on ahead of us. And he went on. But you stand here a moment, so I let you hear the word of Elohim. And Samuel took a flask of oil and poured it on his head and kissed him and said, Is it not because Yahuwah has anointed you leader over his inheritance? When you leave me today, you shall find 2 men by Rachel's burial place in the border of Benjamin at Seltza. And they shall say to you, the donkeys which you went to look for have been found. And see, your father has left the matters of the donkeys, and is worrying about you, saying, what shall I do for my son? And you shall pass on from there and beyond, and shall come to the terebinth tree of Tabor. And 3 men going up to Elohim at Bethel shall find you there, one bearing 3 young goats, another bearing 3 loaves of bread, and another bearing a skin of wine. And they shall greet you and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you shall accept from their hand. After that, go to the hill of Elohim, where the Philistine watch post is. And it shall be when you have come there to the city, that you shall meet a group of prophets coming down from the high place with a stringed instrument and a tambourine and a flute and a lyre before them, and they are prophesying. And the Spirit of Yahuwah shall come upon you, and you shall prophesy with them and be turned into another man. Huh. That's interesting, isn't it? And the Spirit of Yahuwah shall come upon you, and you shall prophesy with them and be turned into another man. And it shall be when these signs come to you, and it shall be when these signs come to you, do for yourself as your hand finds to do, for Elohim is with you. And you shall go down before me to Gilgal, and see, I am coming down to you to offer ascending offerings and slaughter offerings of peace offerings. Wait 7 days till I come to you. Then I shall make known to you what you should do. And it came to be when he had turned his back to go from Samuel that Elohim gave him another heart. And all those signs came on that day. Okay, so there's some stuff going on here that is deeper than what meets the eye. And it came to be when he had turned his back to go from Samuel that Elohim gave him another heart. And all those signs came on that day. And they came there to the hill and saw a group of prophets to meet him. And the Spirit of Elohim came upon him, and he prophesied in their midst. And it came to be, all who knew him formerly looked and saw that he prophesied among the prophets. So the people said to each other, what is this that has come upon the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? Sorry. And a man there answered and said, and who is their father? That is why it became a proverb. Is Saul also among the prophets? And when he stopped prophesying, he went to the high place. And the uncle of Saul asked him and his servant, where did you go? And he said, to look for the donkey. And when he saw that they were nowhere to be found, he went to Samuel. And the uncle of Saul said, please inform me what Samuel said to you. And Saul said to his uncle, he informed us plainly that the donkeys had been found, but he did not disclose to him about the matter of the reign, or about him becoming a king, what Samuel had said. But he did not disclose to him about the matter of the reign, what Samuel had said. And Samuel called the people together to Yahuwah at Mitzpah, and said to the children of Israel, thus said Yahuwah, at the Elohim of Israel, I have brought Israel up out of Egypt, and delivered you from the hand of the Mitzrites, and from the hand of all the reigns, and from those who oppressed you. And today you have rejected your Elohim, who himself saved you out of all your evils and your distresses, And you have said to him, no, but set a king over us. And now present yourself before Yahuwah by your tribes and by your clans. And Samuel brought near all the tribes of Israel, and the tribe of Benjamin was taken. Then he brought near the tribes of Benjamin by their clans, and the clan of Matri was taken, and Shaul, son of Kish, was taken. And when they sought him, he could not be found. And they asked again of Yahuwah, was the man come here yet? And Yahuwah answered, see, he has hidden by the baggage. And they ran and brought him from there, and he stood in the midst of the people, and he was taller than any of the people, from his shoulders and upward. And Samuel said to all the people, do you see him whom Yahuwah has chosen, that there is no one like him among all the people? And all the people shouted and said, let the king live. And Samuel declared to the people the rulings of the king, and wrote it in a book, and placed it before Yahuwah. And Samuel sent all the people away, each to his house. And Saul went up to his house too, to Gibeah, and with him went brave men whose hearts Elohim had touched. But the sons of Belial said, what, does this one save us? And they despised him and brought him no presents, but he kept silent. Chapter 11. All right. That's going to be where we stop for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed that. This is an awesome book. I love reading the book of Samuel. So many stories tied up in this book. It should be a lot of fun to go through this. Hope you guys are getting to know each other in the chat. That's part of the fun of doing this live, is it's more interactive. You guys get to chat about the scriptures that we're reading, or whatever you want to talk about in the chat. Did I just disappear? I don't know what happened. Yep. So cool. All right, guys. Oh, hey, normally I start reading by praying. I didn't do that, so how about we just sign off by praying, okay? You guys want to join me real quick, and then we will go ahead and close this out. Yahweh Most High. Father, thank you for this time, and thank you for your word. Father, I pray that as we all spend time with our families, hopefully, that we're just showing each other patience and love and grace, that we're ministering to our families first, and using that as an opportunity to just practice all the fruits of the Spirit, so that as we go about our lives, that it's just second nature, that we would just shine your light before men, and that people would glorify you because of it. We just love you, Father, and we ask you to bless this evening, bless each person as they go about their lives after we sign off here. And it's in Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys for hanging out. Love you. We'll catch you in the next Bible reading. Shalom. GR Cleve, how do I get a hold of you? Sorry, I just saw your comment. I'm here to talk. Email me, sanctifiedsupplyco@gmail.com, and we'll talk. All right. Shalom, shalom. Bless y'all.